Mountains shouldn't rise straight from the ocean like this. Vertical granite walls erupting from Arctic water. No foothills, no warning, just sea to summit in under 1,000 meters. The geology is violent. Ancient rock pushed up by tectonic forces, carved by glaciers, the peaks jagged as broken teeth. Fishing villages cling to the shoreline, red cabins on stilts over the water. The Ramberg reflecting in still fjords, the whole scene looking painted, too perfect to be real. But it's real. 68 degrees north, same latitude as Alaska's interior, Greenland's south coast. Yet the Gulf Stream keeps the water ice-free year-round. The climate improbably mild for the Arctic. This is Lofoten, an archipelago off Norway's northwest coast. 190 kilometers of islands connected by bridges and tunnels. As the E10 highway running the length, the road trip legendary for scenery that doesn't stop. That overwhelms until the brain stops processing and just accepts the impossible beauty. The midnight sun circles overhead in summer. The northern lights dance in winter. The stockfish hangs on wooden racks from February through May. Cod drying in Arctic wind, the traditional preservation method unchanged for 1,000 years. Vikings sailed from these shores, the sea their highway, fishing their economy. The heritage still visible in longhouse ruins and museum reconstructions. Lofoten is Europe's final edge. Beyond this, only ocean. The islands feel like the end of something, or the beginning. 20 places, all real, all impossible, all waiting. The village that appears on every Lofoten postcard. Reine sits at the end of a fjord. Mountains rising on three sides, the harbor in front, red Ramberg lining the waterfront. The population is 300. The scenic reputation is global. Photographers arrive at all hours, the light constantly changing, the angles infinite. The mountains are called Ramberg, Ulstinden, the peaks reflected perfectly in the water when the wind stops, the reflection doubling the drama. The village is fishing community, the economy still based on cod, though tourism is growing. The Ramberg are tourist accommodations now, the traditional fishermen's cabins converted to hotels. The authenticity commercialized but still genuine. Reine is Lofoten distilled, the essence captured in one small harbor. Even smaller than Reine, connected by bridge, the red cabins perched on tiny islands in the fjord. Hamnøy is the classic Lofoten shot, the composition perfect. The wooden jetties leading to cabins, mountains behind, the water calm and reflective. The village is fishing station, operational for centuries, the current buildings dating from the 19th century, though the location is older. The bridge is recent, connecting the islands, making access easy, perhaps too easy. The Instagram crowds discovering it, the privacy lost, the magic diluted by popularity. But at dawn, before the buses arrive, Hamnøy is silent and stunning. The lights soft, the colors muted, the beauty worth the early alarm, the cold, the weight. The yellow and red village, distinctive for its colored buildings against the white mountains and blue water. Sakrisøy is connected to Hamnøy by bridge, the villages essentially one, though each maintains identity. The football pitch sits on a tiny flat area, the only level ground, the pitch spectacularly located. Mountains surrounding it, the setting making it possibly the world's most scenic place to play soccer. The stockfish racks dominate in season, wooden frames holding thousands of cod. The smell intense, the tradition essential to local economy. The village is photogenic from every angle, the composition natural, the light perfect. The popularity deserved, though the crowds are inevitable consequence of beauty this accessible and this photogenic. The hike that almost killed people. Reinebringen is the mountain behind Reine. The summit offering views across the entire archipelago. The perspective showing how the mountains rise from the sea, the islands stretching north and south. The original trail was dangerously steep, eroded, people slipping, some falling, injuries common. In 2019, Sherpas from Nepal built 1,500 stone steps. The Nepalese craftsmanship importing Himalayan expertise to Norwegian mountains. The trail now safe, accessible, crowded. The climb takes 90 minutes, the legs burning, the views expanding with each switchback. The summit is small, space limited, the crowds creating congestion, selfie sticks and influencers. The experience diminished by popularity, but the views still worth the effort. Get the perspective showing Lofoten's geography in ways the ground level cannot reveal. The Venice of Lofoten, they call it. Henningsvær is built on several small islands in the Fjord. Connected by bridges, the village spreading across the water, narrow channels between buildings, boats everywhere. The football pitch sits on an island, rock blasted flat. The pitch surrounded by water on all sides, the aerial photos showing its improbable location. The village is largest fishing community in Lofoten, active harbour, fish processing, the economy still maritime despite tourism growth. The galleries and cafes are new. The conversion from pure fishing village to tourist destination ongoing. The balance precarious, the authenticity threatened, but still present. The climbing wall at Klatrekafin attracts sport climbers, the routes on overhanging rock, the views across the harbour, the activity mixing perfectly with the setting. The main town, ferry terminal, airport, the transportation hub connecting Lofoten to mainland Norway. Svolvær has 8,000 residents, making it urban by Lofoten standards, though small by any other measure. The Svolværgata is the iconic peak, the goat-shaped rock formation, two horn-shaped pinnacles rising from the summit. The gap between them, 1.5 meters, climbers jumping across. The leap, famous, photographed, dangerous. The Lofoten War Memorial Museum documents World War II, the German occupation, the resistance, the naval battles in the surrounding waters, the history often overlooked in focus on scenery. The harbour is working port, fishing boats, ferries, cruise ships in summer. The town functional, not just photogenic, the services essential for travellers exploring the islands. To the grocery stores and gas stations mundane but necessary. The narrow fjord, the entrance only 100 meters wide, the walls rising steeply on both sides. The fjord extending 2 kilometers inland, ending at sheer cliffs. Trollfjord is accessible only by boat, the excursions departing from Svolvær, the approach dramatic. The entrance appearing at last moment, the passage tight, the cliffs towering. The water is deep and still, protected from ocean swells, the reflections perfect. The silence complete, except for boat engines echoing off the walls. The fjord is famous for historic Battle of Trollfjord in 1890, steam trawlers versus traditional fishermen. The conflict over fishing rights, the battle symbolic of modernization versus tradition, progress versus preservation. The wildlife includes sea eagles, the white-tailed eagles nesting in the cliffs. At the wingspan reaching 2.5 meters, the birds diving for fish. The spectacle thrilling for passengers watching from boats. The preserved fishing village, UNESCO World Heritage consideration, the authenticity maintained through careful management. Fjord is private property owned by single family, the village operated as living museum. Working harbour, tourist accommodation, the balance between preservation and profit carefully maintained. The Ramberg are 19th century originals, restored but not rebuilt, the interiors modernized for comfort while exteriors remain traditional. The general store sells provisions, souvenirs, coffee, the building historic, but the function continuing. The harbour is sheltered, the location chosen centuries ago for protection from storms. The natural geography providing safety for boats and buildings. The mountains surround the village, the peaks rising directly behind, the setting dramatic, the isolation palpable. And the village feeling removed from modernity, despite the Wi-Fi and the payment terminals accepting credit cards. Arctic surfing. Postcard is the only beach in Lofoten with consistent surf. The waves arriving from open ocean, the exposure creating swells, the temperature making it extreme. The water hovers around 10 degrees in summer, dropping to 4 in winter. The wetsuits thick, the sessions short, the cold limiting time in the water. The surfers are dedicated, locals and travelers. The Arctic Surf School operates year-round. The conditions attracting those seeking unique experience, the bragging rights significant. The beach is white sand, the mountains behind rising steeply, the setting dramatic even without the surf. The village is tiny, a few buildings, the campground, the surf school, the general store, seasonal. Postcard represents Lofoten's extremes, beauty and harshness combined, and the location attracting those who embrace rather than avoid discomfort. The hidden beach, accessible only by hiking, the remoteness preserving its wild character. Kvalvika requires 2-kilometer hike from nearest road, the trail crossing mountain saddle, descending steeply to the beach. The effort deterring casual visitors, the isolation rewarding those who make the trek. The beach is kilometer-long arc of white sand, mountains rising directly behind, the setting primordial. Untouched, the absence of development allowing imagination to see the landscape as Vikings saw it. The camping is permitted, the beach popular for overnight stays, tents dotting the sand, campfires burning, the experience immersive. The stars and northern lights visible without light pollution, the waves providing soundtrack, the isolation complete. The surf is possible, the beach break creating waves, though the cold and the hike with gear limit the surfing to the committed. The accessible beach, the E10 highway running alongside, the parking easy, the sand white. the water turquoise in the right light, the setting tropical except for the temperature. Ramberg is Lofoten's most tourist-friendly beach, the access removing barriers, the beauty available to everyone, regardless of hiking ability. The sand is fine, the beach wide, the mountains rising behind, the composition perfect for photos, the popularity inevitable. The midnight sun in summer means 24-hour access, the photographers arriving at all hours, the light constantly changing, the angles shifting. The village behind the beach is small, services minimal, the church wooden and historic, the cemetery next to the beach, the tombstones facing the ocean. The location chosen by ancestors who lived for the sea, returned to watch it eternally. The village at the end of the road. O is the southernmost village in Lofoten, accessible by car. The E10 terminates here, the name literally meaning river or creek in Norwegian, pronounced like the O in pod. The village is fishing museum, the traditional cod fishing and processing displayed in restored buildings. The stockfish racks, the råbua, the boats, the tools, everything preserved, showing how Lofoten's economy functioned for centuries. The bakery is famous, the bread baked in wood-fired oven, the smell drawing visitors. The loaves crusty and substantial, the fuel for hiking and exploring. The village is tiny, 100 residents, the tourist numbers far exceeding permanent population during summer. The balance between preservation and tourism carefully managed. O is the end of the road, literally the conclusion, the final stop. The place where the journey terminates or begins, depending on direction. The municipality covering several villages, the church and the beach most notable. Flakstad Church is red wooden building dating from 1780, the location on a small rise overlooking the fjord. The churchyard containing graves from centuries past, the setting peaceful, the architecture simple and elegant. The beach at Flakstad is white sand, the water clear, the mountains behind. The composition similar to Ramberg, but quieter, less visited. The access slightly more difficult, the crowds smaller. The area is agricultural by Lofoten standards. Farms producing hay, animals grazing. The fields green against grey rock, the farming marginal, surviving on subsidies and determination. The population is sparse, scattered across small villages, the services limited. The landscape dominant, the human presence minimal but persistent. The the second largest town, 3,000 residents, the commercial center for Western Lofoten. Leknes has the grocery stores, the hardware store, the pharmacy, the services that Svolvær provides for the east. The town is functional, not scenic. The buildings modern and utilitarian, the aesthetic sacrificed for practicality. The architecture unremarkable except for the setting, mountains surrounding even this ordinary town. The airport connects to Bodo, the flights allowing visitors to skip the long ferry ride. The convenience making Leknes the entry point for many travelers. The town is base for exploring Western Islands, the accommodation options diverse. The restaurants serving local and international food, the services supporting tourism without the town being touristy. Leknes is where Lofoten residents shop, and not where tourists photograph. The distinction clear. The importance to local life significant, despite the absence of postcard views. The reconstructed chieftain's longhouse, the largest ever found in Norway, the original discovered in Borg in 1983. The Lofoten Museum built full-scale replica, 83 meters long, the timber frame massive, the turf roof thick. The interior smoky and dim, recreating Viking Age living conditions accurately, the authenticity prioritized over comfort. The museum offers demonstrations, blacksmithing, weaving, food preparation. The activities showing how Vikings lived, worked, survived in Lofoten's harsh environment. The rowing tours allow visitors to experience Viking ships, the replicas maneuverable and surprisingly fast, the experience physical and immersive. The archaeological evidence shows Lofoten was powerful chiefdom, controlling fishing, trading stockfish to Europe before Norway was unified kingdom. And the museum is educational without being dry, engaging without being superficial, the balance effective. The experience illuminating Lofoten's history beyond the recent fishing villages. Lofoten shouldn't exist. Not like this. Mountains shouldn't rise this steeply from the sea. Fishing villages shouldn't look this perfect. The light shouldn't be this good. The scenery shouldn't be this accessible. But it does. It is. It is. The midnight sun circles overhead for weeks. The northern lights dance for months. The cod arrive on schedule, drying on the racks, feeding the island's economy the way they have for 1,000 years. Vikings launched raids from these harbors. Fishermen still launch boats from the same harbors. Tourists now photograph what the Vikings and fishermen built. The E10 highway connects the islands, the bridges and tunnels, making the archipelago traversable in a day, though doing so misses the point. Lofoten requires time to understand the light's changes, to see how the weather transforms the landscape, to watch the tide reveal and conceal the beaches, to experience the midnight sun's disorientation, to witness the aurora's dance. The villages are surviving. The fishing continues. The tourism grows. The balance between preservation and development is negotiated daily. The rorbua that were fishermen's cabins are now tourist rentals. The harbors that were purely functional are now photographic subjects. The economy that was purely maritime now depends equally on visitors with cameras. But the mountains still rise from the sea. The light still performs its magic. The cod still arrive. The northern lights still dance. Lofoten is Europe's most unreal place, and it's all real. Every impossible mountain, every perfect village, every dramatic sunset, every dancing aurora, all real. Don't subscribe to Wanderlux Experience. Some places look too perfect to exist. Lofoten exists anyway.